Broadcasting live from the studios of People TV in Atlanta, Georgia, and on behalf of everyone who assists in the production of As It Is Written, I'd like to thank you for joining us. My name is Tamar Israel, and I'll be your hostess for tonight's show. And with me tonight is the elder priest of the New Covenant Congregation of Israel, Elder Yaakov Ben Israel. Elder, welcome to the show.
Thank you, dear. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. It's good to be with you again tonight. It's been a while since we've been on together.
Yes, it has.
I'd like to talk to our audience tonight, Elder, if you don't mind, about the prophecies of Daniel and Revelations as it relates to the restoration of Israel or the Hebrew children, because I think that's what people miss in today's society. History combined with biblical prophecy to show you where we are in terms of the scale of times. Mm-hmm. And because people don't know who the so-called Negro is, as far as us being the Hebrew children, they miss a lot of prophecies, and they don't understand the prophecies. You hear some of the big names, Jack Van Impe, and some of these, the 700 Club, these people who are actually talking about the prophecies, but still, because they don't know who we are and that we are still in captivity, everything is still a mystery to them. So if you will, Elder, let's take us through the Nebuchadnezzar's dream and then through his dream in Daniel's dream in chapter 7. Let's walk our audience through the prophets, things that was to come in terms of the downfall of the nation of Israel, beginning with the Babylonian Empire all the way up to this present-day Roman Empire.
Well, you know, when you really study the Bible and listen to what people are saying, you know, I heard a minister last week say, well, hey, you know, Christ can come any day. We waiting on the Messiah to come, you know, we got ourselves ready. But when you read the prophets and see which period of time that we're in the book of Revelations, you find out that the Messiah can't come at any time because certain prophecies has to be fulfilled before the Messiah returns to the earth. Right now we're in the period of time in Revelation 6 chapter in the 6th seal. So you got, the 5th seal, 4th seal rather. So you got the 5th seal, the 6th seal, and the 7th seal, and you got 7 trumpets and 7 vials of wrath got to be poured upon the earth before the Messiah can come. But see, we get these things from the church because we don't do the research to find out for ourselves just what's going on in the scripture. I'm going to read you something out of the prophet Daniel. Okay. And see what Daniel had to say about these things, and you can very well see that something is wrong with what man is teaching today. As a matter of fact, I was listening to one of these doomsday prophets. You mentioned his name a little while ago. I was listening to him, and every time I listen to him, he's always backtracking on something he said. But, you know, people listen, but a lot of people don't keep notes. They just listen to see what the man has to say and don't go and do the research themselves. But let me read something to you out of the book of Daniel here. Now, if you go back into Daniel's 2nd chapter, Daniel saw a statue, head of gold, and his arms and shoulders and so forth was of silver, and his thighs and his legs was thighs and his stomach and his thighs was of brass, and then his feet were his legs and his thighs and his legs was of brass rather, and his feet was of iron and miry clay. And what that was a preview of something that was going to take place later on. In other words, by the beast the statue being in 4 sections, it let us know that there'll be 4. That was letting Daniel know there was 4 empires that was going to come up on the earth. And then later on, Daniel wondered about that. But let's see what was told to Daniel later on in the 7th chapter of Daniel. See, that's what I like about Yahweh. He tell you something, and then he don't just tell you a little bit of it. He tell you everything you got to say. Like you said, I don't do anything till I tell my servants the prophets first.
We've got that on the screen, as a matter of fact. So if you will go through that statute form for the audience today and show them these empires, that would be great. Then we move on to 7, if you don't mind.
Okay, Daniel has saw this statue, and let me read to you. I'm going to pick this up out of the book of Daniel, chapter 2, and verse 36. It says, "This is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. You, O king, are a king of kings, for the God of heaven has given you a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the air and fowls of the heavens, rather, has he given into your hand, and has made you ruler over them all. You are this head of gold."
Okay.
You see, so Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonian Empire, which was the first empire, was the head of gold.
Okay.
And then he went to the second empire. It said, "And after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to you, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule all over the whole earth." Okay. Well, the second kingdom that came up was the Medo-Persian Empire. And then the third kingdom that was going to bear rule over the whole earth, this was the third head of that beast, which was Alexander the Great.
The Grecians.
The Greek Empire.
Okay.
And in verse 40 it says, "And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron break in pieces and to do all things. And as iron that break all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas you saw the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it as the strength of iron. For as much as you saw that iron mixed with miry clay." But what you do is you look at this fragmented Roman Empire that we're in today. It's the strongest empire that has ever been upon the earth. They have enough power they've already destroyed the ozone layer. They have enough power to destroy the earth 14 times over. But what happened was, when it said the kingdom divided, once Rome fell, and once the Greeks came in with Alexander the Great, Alexander died, and his kingdom was divided among his 4 generals, and out of Lucimanus came the Roman Empire. And then the Roman Empire was in place when the Messiah was on the scene, and it fell, and here it is now. We see this empire coming back together again.
And Elder, the wild part is all of this is history. You can look all of this up and know that these 4 empires came and went exactly as you just stated. And we're still living in the fragmented Roman Empire today. Go ahead, Elder. Continue.
And verse 44 in Daniel chapter 2, it says, "And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever." In other words, he was saying that once the Messiah comes, that God was going to set up a kingdom here on this earth that was going to destroy that kingdom. And this is the period of time that we are approaching very swiftly right now, is that the Messiah returning to put down all rule, but not as folks say. Folks say he's going up to heaven and so forth and so on, but according to the prophets, the Messiah was promised that he was going to sit on David's throne, not Yahweh's throne.
Right.
And David's throne was in Jerusalem, Israel, and all the prophets bear word to the fact that the Messiah is going to return to the earth, is going to save his people out of captivity, is going to put down all rule, and then set up a kingdom in Jerusalem for 1,000 years. Now, the Christians say that they're going to be going up to heaven and all that other stuff, but Paul said in the 2nd chapter, glory and honor to the Jew first.
Correct.
You see, so if the Christians going to get off and go off of here, then Paul told a lie. Zechariah told a lie. All the prophets told a lie. And this is what I like about the God of Israel. What he does, he don't just tell one prophet what he has to say.
Right.
He'll tell 3, 4, 5, 6 prophets.
Correct.
All the prophets talked about the coming of the Messiah. You see, so so we know that all the prophets talked about the things that was going to take place once the Messiah returned and set up his kingdom on this earth. But we don't get that because we don't get history. What we get out of this book here, instead of people reading history and teaching history out of the book, what they do is they have a tendency to teach religion, and religion really means to hold back. That's what it means. And they teach us religion to keep us from knowing what the truth is.
Correct. And you mentioned the Hebrews and us being saved out of this final captivity. Daniel, that was what he was interested in. You know, what about my people? What will happen in the latter days? And Yahweh showed him that these 4 empires would come upon his people, and that we would withstand all these 4 empires. And you got down to the legs of this great beast that we saw, which was the mighty Pax Romana, the Roman Empire. And then finally the fragmented kingdom in which we live in now. Of course, the Romans or the Europeans still controlling this fragmented empire as it is to this day. As a matter of fact, the Gentiles, who are the Europeans, have ruled the earth for the longest period of time than any other race of Noah's 3 sons.
Right, they were given 2,520 years to rule.
Correct, correct. So people don't understand that the 4th empire fell in 476 AD, but here we are today with the Roman Senate. Our government is based on Capitol Hill. In Rome, it was called Capitoline Hill. The architecture of our seat of government in Washington, D.C. is patterned after Rome. So we are still living under the Roman Empire. And not just us, the whole world is patterned after Rome.
Well, the way they disguised that is they wouldn't call it the revived Holy Roman Empire. What they called it is the New World Order. You see, the New World Order. It's the old world order that was set up back in the, you had the Babylonian Empire, that was the New World Order. The Medo-Persian Empire was a New World Order. Each one of the empires that came up was a New World Order that was being set up. But those kingdoms, what it is about those kingdoms only had a period of time to rule, and they ruled, and nothing, everything that was pertaining to them, the next emperor came in and destroyed that. But with the Roman Empire, once the Roman Empire fell, it didn't fall from other kings, it fell from among the Romans. And it's the Romans that's putting this thing back together again. So a lot of people don't seem to understand that. Just like in the New Testament, Paul said he was a Roman, but he was from Cilicia.
Correct.
You see, what he meant was that he was a free citizen of Rome.
Correct.
You see,
much like we are Americans.
Right. We say we're Americans because we are here in America. Well, once they divided it up, then naturally the nations start calling their countries after their people. But when it's putting back together, it's putting back together as a new world order with one currency and one king, just like and all the people worshiping one God, who is the adversary of the devil, and we can see that right now. All of the nations is offering the worship of Satan because they don't do what's written here in the Scripture. What they do is go to the New Testament, and they have built them a foundation in the New Testament that's not really built in the New Testament. It was built in, the foundation was laid in the Old Testament, and people don't go back into the Old Testament and read exactly what was said. In the New Testament, you may read 3 verses that says something. And people will take that out of context because they didn't go back in the Bible and read those 30-odd chapters that explain the whole thing so you couldn't make a mistake. So man's problem today is that man just don't see. Satan has blinded the eyes to the people as to what is really being set up on this earth. He's getting his army together because, like he said in Isaiah 14, he was going to ascend into heaven. He was going to exalt his throne above the stars of God. He was going to sit in the temple in Jerusalem. He was going to have everybody worshiping him. Excuse me. And when you look at the earth today and consider what the prophets had to say, what our fathers told us in the Old and the New Testament, you can very well find out that the earth is worshiping Satan. This is why crime, sin is running rampant on the earth.
Correct, correct. And we had to withstand or bear through all these empires and all their pagan practices. And our people are still aligning ourselves with the pagan practices of the nations. Hence all the holy or holidays that the Roman Empire has set up.
Correct.
And hopefully before we finish this class, we'll see that the roots of Christianity is embedded in the Roman Empire with the Caesars and the popes of Rome, not with Yeshua and the apostles and the word of the scriptures. Elder, let's go on to Daniel chapter 7, and let's deal with that empire, and hopefully the camera can pick up some some of these images that he spoke of to show that Yahweh's word is sure, and he showed us the same thing many different ways.
Many different ways, because he showed us this thing 3 different times. He showed it twice in the Old Testament and once in the New Testament. And the thing of it is, a lot of people read the book of Revelations and they say, well, it's a lot of symbols, it's a scary book. But if you get back into the book of Daniel and read the prophets, you'll find out that the angel was the one that really interpreted the dream form so he could see what it is. Correct. And in Daniel 7 here, he saw the same thing that he saw in Daniel's 2nd chapter. He saw the statue with the 4 different kingdoms, right? And then here it is in Daniel 7. He saw the same thing, but he saw it a different way. And I'm going to pick this up at verse 1. It says, in the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matter. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the 4 winds of heaven strove upon the great sea. Now he's talking about the 4 angels that was bringing the empires upon the earth. They strove upon the great sea of men. Okay. And verse 3 it says, and 4 beasts came up from the sea, different one from another.
It's like you say, they were each world empires.
Right, each world empires. And each ruled, well, the first one was ruled by the Arabs, and the next one was ruled by the Gentiles, and
Russians,
and Iranians, the Asians, and the Iranians, Europeans, and they still today, when you look at it, they're still the same people. But for they tell us in churches that we are all Gentiles, but Genesis 10th chapter proves that to be a lie. Okay, verse 4 says, the first was like a lion, and had eagle's wings. I beheld thereafter the wings were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth and made to stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. When you go back and read what happened to Nebuchadnezzar, this is exactly what happened to Nebuchadnezzar, and Daniel told him when he saw the statue, say, you would have said a gold, right? The first empire. Verse 5, and behold, another beast, a second, like unto a bear. Today, Russia still called a bear, isn't she?
Absolutely.
And it was the Medo-Persian Empire that came in and took over from the Arabs, right? And it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it, and they said thus unto it, arise and devour much flesh, right? Now this was the empire that came in on the Babylonian Empire in 539 BC. Okay. Verse 6, after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard. It called Alexander the Great a leopard because of the swiftness that he conquered the whole earth. And that was 12 years, and nobody had ever conquered it that swift. Which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast also had 4 heads, and dominion was given unto it. Well, Alexander the Great died. And once he died, his kingdom was divided among the Seleucids of Syria, the Ptolemies, which ruled in Egypt, of course, who Cleopatra came out of, and Cassandra of Russia, and Lucimanus of Rome, right? And out of Lucimanus, Romulus and Romulus were the ones that was given credit for the founding of Rome, and these are the ancestors of Lucimanus. Okay, verse 7 it says, and after this I saw a night vision, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly. It had great iron teeth, and it devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it, and it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns.
This was a brute beast, wasn't it?
This was a brute beast. It was so terrible, Daniel couldn't even get this beast here a name, but it had, it devoured the whole earth, then it broke the earth in pieces, divided it among themselves when Rome fell, and now they're stamping the residue of the earth with the feet of it. And you can see the results of that because all of the ecosystems are being destroyed on the earth, and the earth is just about at a place to where it can't sustain itself anymore. Verse 8 it says, I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the root. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things,
Okay,
right?
Elder, deal with the horns first, and then the little horn. Okay, we got the horns
Well,
up on the screen.
what you have to do is you have to go back into the scripture and see what happened once Rome fell.
Okay.
See, once Rome fell, the Huelis, the Vandals, and the Ostrogoths, all this is in history books. If you read the Bible as a history book and do your research, you'll find out it's right on the money.
Absolutely.
The Huelis, the Vandals, and the Ostrogoths began to sack the Holy Roman Empire. And then this little horn, Pope St. Leo, joined in with Justinian, the church and state together, and they plucked the Huelis and the Vandals and the Ostrogoths up by the root. Then you had Justinian, Emperor Constantine, Charlemagne, Napoleon Bonaparte, Oorder the Great, and the last one was, the ninth horn was Adolf Hitler. So we're still waiting on the 10 horns today.
All right, Elder, we have this finally up on the screen, and as you can see over to my right, are some of these 10 horns that came up during the time of the Roman Empire to try to revive it. And as you stated, the first 3 were Germanic tribes. The Huelis, Vandals, and Ostrogoths were the first to sack the Roman Empire. And Justinian is the first one that we have up there. Caesar Justinian, he was the one to try to revive, the first one to try to revive the Holy Roman Empire, take it back from these Germanic tribes. And he did ally with the Pope, and his stand to this day is the fact that he was the first to try to bring back this Holy Roman Empire that had fallen. The next one is the Charlemagne, who is being crowned by the Pope in AD 800, and he was crowned on the high day of the sun, which is called Christmas today.
Correct.
AD 800,
the winter solstice.
So-called Christmas, exactly, winter solstice, because what? They were sun worshipers. So we're starting to see these 10 horns of the Roman Empire becoming kings that would try to revive it, being in connection with that little horn that you talked about.
Correct.
And then you have the other pictures. We had a picture of, I believe, as you go on, we've got Charles V, who was a France king, or Frank as they called it at that time.
Right.
Exactly. And then you have a picture of Bonaparte himself. And these are historical men that you can look up.
Correct.
They're part of these 10 horns who came to revive the Roman Empire. So it didn't matter what European land they ruled from, their goal was to revive what the Caesars had established in Rome.
Correct.
And finally you have Hitler himself. And if it was 10 horns and we already have 9, we're waiting on one more.
Correct.
One more horn.
Correct.
Okay,
And
now, Elder, let's talk about that little horn.
Well,
Unless you have a comment on that.
let me finish up with the 10 horns first. In Daniel 7 and verse 23, see, it says, "Thus he said, the 4th beast shall be the 4th kingdom upon the earth, which shall be different from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down, and break it in pieces. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall arise after them, and he shall be different from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings." And then when you go into that other little horn, it says, "And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until 3½ years. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and to destroy it unto the end. And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, which is the 12 tribes of Israel." And Zechariah backs that up that when the Messiah set up his kingdom, he's going to scatter Judah to the 4 corners of the earth as the governors of this earth, right?
And promised his apostles that they would sit judging the 12 tribes
judging the 12 tribes of Israel. And when you get in the book of Revelation, the 4 and 20 elders that were in heaven said they're going to reign as kings on the earth. But the church telling everybody they're going to heaven and reign.
Absolutely.
Okay, and let me finish this up. It says, the kingdom and dominion under the whole heaven shall be given unto the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. So even this other little horn that came up, he's going to be destroyed. When you deal with the little horn, you find out we'll deal with that later on.
Now, Justinian, as you said, allied with the Pope.
Correct.
the Pope or the Roman churches who gobbled up the 7 churches that Paul began that were Hebrew churches, even if they were spiritual Jews, they still were going to synagogues that were set up in the land, being taught by Hebrews. So the Europeans who were first converted to this way of life were converted to Judaism, as we know it in its purest form.
And they were called proselytes.
Correct.
In the beginning, they were called proselytes. If the Syrian, the people in Syria, the Gentiles, they first called the apostles Christians, and that was a slap in their face to call them Christians, because when you go 20 years later in Paul's life, he said, "I'm a Jew of Tarsus," and that was 20 years after Christ was resurrected from the dead. And Judaism is a culture, just like Christianity is a religion. And the two can't mix, because one say you don't have to keep the law, and the other one say you're going to keep it forever. You see, so there's a schism there, and what man has managed to do is this. People want something for nothing. So they tell people, so all you got to do is believe that Christ died for your sin, and have faith in that, and then call on his name, and you're going to be saved. Well, then our fathers did the same thing, and they weren't saved. They were scattered to the four corners of the earth after the Messiah came and died and was resurrected from the dead.
That's what I don't understand. I mean, we are living examples of Yahweh's anger and his word being carried out to the letter. These 4 empires have all had us in captivity. Daniel was in the Babylonian captivity. Daniel served under the the Russian Empire. So Daniel saw through this whole thing, and we're still captives under these Europeans. So why not take us for an example and begin to turn around and keep the laws, statutes, and judgments that Yahweh has given to us and all the earth that chooses to do his will.
Man don't want to keep Yahweh's laws simply because it cramps his style. It doesn't allow him to do the things that he wants to do the way that man want to do these things. But we have to understand one thing, that Yahweh said, you're going to do this forever. And this is what man don't want to deal with, is keeping the laws of God and doing these things forever. Now, we know that the Messiah died in the year of 33 A.D., right?
The height of the Roman Empire.
Right at the height of the Roman Empire. Now, I'm going to go in the year of 60 A.D. Okay, now he died in 33, and this is 60 A.D., so this is 27 years after the Messiah was resurrected from the dead. Now, Paul went among some of our people teaching the word, and let me read something to you here, Paul, that was told to Paul. This is in Acts chapter 21, and I'm going to pick this up at verse 15. It says, "And after those days we took up our carriages and went up to Jerusalem. There went with us also certain of the disciples of Caesarea, and brought with them one Nason of Cyrus, an old disciple, with whom we should lodge. And when we were coming to Jerusalem, the brethren received us gladly. And the day following, Saul went in with us unto James and to all the elders that were present. And when he had saluted them, he declared particularly what things Elohim had wrought among the Europeans by his ministry. And when they heard it, they glorified Yahweh and said unto him, You see, brother, how many thousands of Jews there are which believe, and they are all zealous for the law. They believe, and they were still zealous for the law. Because the Messiah said, heaven and earth shall pass away, but not one jot or one tittle of the law till all be fulfilled. And we haven't fulfilled the book of Revelation, that many of the prophets yet.
Absolutely. Elder, we're going to get back into Daniel. Let's pick up that little horn, and let's tell everybody who that little horn is, because, you know, some of these Christian TV ministers refuse to acknowledge this connection between the Caesars of Rome, or the kings of Europe, and the Pope. So let's talk about that for a minute. But we have a phone call, so let's invite our audience in to join us tonight in this conversation. Good evening. Give us your name and your question or comment. And we cannot hear the caller in the studio.
We can never hear the caller in the studio, and ain't nothing strange. Everybody else hear the caller but us.
Okay, we're going to go ahead, Elder, and let's talk about this Pope. But hopefully we can get this picture up on the screen of the Pope, or the office of the Pope. Give us the scriptures in Daniel and in Revelations that relates to these titles. He's called the Little Horn. He's called the Man of Sin.
Right.
the false prophet, the beast, the little smaller beast, or the beast that looked like a lamb but spoke as a dragon. So let's deal with those things in the scripture.
Okay, now Daniel called him a little horn, and this little horn, I'm going to pick this up again in Daniel 7 and verse 8. He says, I considered the horns, and behold, he was talking about the 10 horns, right? There came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the root. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things, right? Now, this is what's interesting. I beheld until the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hairs of his head like pure wool, and his throne like the fiery flame, and his wheels like burning fire. A fiery stream issued and came forth before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him, and the judgment was set, and the books were opened. Now, how can you have judgment without law, right? I beheld then, because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake. He's talking about the little horn, right? I beheld even until the beast, this last king, was slain, and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame. As concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, and their time were prolonged for a season and a time, right? Okay, now let's pick up this same horn over in Daniel chapter 25. Well, 24 it says, and the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall arise after them, and he shall be different from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High. And this is very interesting. And think to change times and laws, right?
Correct.
Well, they did change. The first thing they changed was the Sabbath day.
And they definitely have worn out the saints.
Of course they have.
It's Christians, or the Catholics, that the whole slave trade came about.
Of course, and we got to understand who it is that's the power structure on the earth today. It's the Christians.
Correct.
The Catholics and the Protestant America and the Protestant Catholic Europe, they are the ones who have all of the power on the earth. And you know when the Soviet Union fell, remember they gave all the people in Russia back their God so they can carry them around on their shoulder and everything. So we can very well see that the whole earth is becoming Christian. And Christ said the broad way lead to destruction. Christ said in St. John 4:22, salvation is of the Jews, right? So not only did they change they changed the time. When they changed the time, God said April was the beginning of the year.
Correct.
So the year Gentiles didn't want it in that month, so what they did was they changed it to January, after Janus, the two-faced God that looks into the past and into the future. So they did change time and law, and we shall be given into the beast's hand for the 3.5 years of time known in the book of Revelation as the Great Tribulation period.
And then think about the great law, the law itself. They say we don't have to keep the law. So the Roman Empire, coupled with the Pope and the Vatican City, have changed everything that Yahweh set up. And here we are, without knowledge of these changes, without understanding the roots of these things, especially Christianity, we go headlong into it, thinking we're serving our God.
Correct.
It's like Paul said, we have a zeal for Yah, but not according to knowledge. So I think we had that picture up of the Pope. Let's put up another picture, Elder, as we go into Revelations, where this little horn is dealt with.
Okay, well, let me read just a piece out of Daniel that talks about that little horn. Also, this is in Daniel chapter 11 and verse 36. It says, and the king shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of God, and shall prosper, till the indignation be accomplished, for that determined shall be done. Neither shall he regard the God of his fathers, nor the desire of women, nor regard any god, for he shall magnify himself above all. But in his estate he shall honor the God of forces,
Okay.
military power, right? And a God whom his fathers knew not shall he honor with gold and silver and precious stones and pleasant things. Thus he shall do in the most strongholds with a strange God, whom he shall acknowledge and increase with glory, and he shall cause them to rule over many, and shall divide the land for gain.
Elder, we're going to hold your point right there. We're coming right back. We do have a caller online. I hope we can get you in tonight. Caller, go ahead with your name, your question, and comment, and/or comment. Can we hear that caller? Okay. I don't hear that caller. Elder, the popes of all the earth, I mean, there have been hundreds of years of popes of Rome, and truly, they did go in with flatteries. You see, the missionaries came first. They came spreading this lie of Christianity to the so-called natives all over the world. And they took lands by subtlety. Before you know it, Christians rule the world. But people have forgotten the roots of Christianity.
Correct.
It's deep in what we call Vatican City today. This is where they began to burn people at the stakes and call them heretics if they kept the Sabbath day, which was Saturday, because Constantine allied with the Pope and changed it to the first day of the week. So these popes are very influential in what? Doing away with Yahweh's law altogether.
Correct.
And people do call him Papa.
Correct. Now in St. Matthew 24 chapter, the Messiah told his apostles, when you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee to the mountain, because there's going to be a time of trouble like it never was and never will be until that time, until that same time, and at that time, your people Daniel shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. Now, what I like to do is in Revelation 17 here, I'm going to deal with some things with the Roman Catholic Church, which is head of the Protestant Church. We know that too. They started it really. Revelation 17. I'm gonna start this at verse 1. And there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come here. I will show you the judgment of the great whore that sits upon many waters. Now, if we skip over here at verse 15, it says, And he said unto me, The waters which you saw where the whore sit are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. In other words, this whore here had her skirt spread all over the earth, right?
Absolutely.
Verse 2, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication, that religion, right?
And all the kings that we've mentioned tonight were allied with these popes of Rome.
Of course.
They had to get the blessings of the Pope.
Well,
Just like we saw, Charlemagne was crowned by the Pope as the Holy Roman Emperor.
Well, George Bush is getting ready to go see him, ain't he?
They got to pay homage.
All the kings on the earth pay homage to the Pope.
Okay.
Verse 3. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. When we look back into the kingdoms was ruled by 7 heads. And then he told them the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise.
Correct.
So we can very well see that this was even allied with the Roman Catholic Church. And when we get in Revelations 12 and read Revelations 12, it was Satan who had 7 heads and 10 horns.
Gave him his
10
power.
crowns. And it was Satan who gave this beast, according to Revelation 13, it was Satan who gave this empire his power and his seat and great authority. And it said, these shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. So we can very well see who it is now. It's the ones that got the power that's going to make war with the Lamb. And we know who that is. That's the Gentiles.
Oh, do we have a caller online? Caller, hopefully we can get you in tonight. Go ahead with your name, your question, and your comment, and/or comment. Go ahead. We're trying to pick you up tonight. Caller, go ahead with your question. I'm sorry. Technical difficulties. Please leave your name if you can talk to someone, and your number will definitely get back to you. Elder, okay.
Yeah, just have to leave a number because it seems like every time we come on the show, everybody else get their phone calls. But when we come on the show, no phone calls, and don't nobody know what the problem is, but they patch it up for the next show.
Elder, okay, now we've dealt with him as the man of sin. Well, we haven't. Let's deal with Thessalonians for a minute. Let's still show this Pope for what it really is, because it doesn't matter which one it is. It's the one that's sitting in that seat when the Messiah comes, which is close at hand.
Right. Let me finish this up first.
Okay.
This is verse 4, Revelation 17 and verse 4. It says, "And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abomination of the filthiness of her fornication. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and the abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunk up with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Yeshua. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration." Now, why would the Christian church be drunken with the blood of the saints? Simply because it's these Christians that brought God's holy people over here in this land here as their slaves.
Correct.
That's why she's drunk with the blood of the saints.
Because they spilled it from the time we got on the ships until this very day.
Well, they spilled it from the time they invaded Jerusalem. That's when it really started.
Correct.
Right. And back here in Thessalonians, let me find that in Thessalonians here and see what Paul had to say about
this man of sin.
This man of sin that was going to be revealed. If I can never find Thessalonians, I'm running a problem trying to find these books sometime. Thessalonians, okay. Let me read.
I think we may have gotten a phone call in. Caller, go ahead with your name, your question or comment. Getting something. Caller, go ahead. Nope. Sorry. Okay, Elder.
And this is in 2 Thessalonians 2nd chapter. Paul says, "Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Adonai Yeshua, the Hamashiach, and by our gathering together unto him, that you be not soon shaken in mind, nor be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter, as from us, as the day of the Messiah is at hand. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there be a falling away first."
Right.
A falling away from sound doctrine, from what we taught them, right? "And that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposes and exalted himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he, as God, sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God."
Now
so we can very well see what's going to happen is that the earth, these Christians, going to end up causing everybody to worship a man. You see, but it's the Pope that's going to be behind it. It's the Pope that's going to go in the temple of God and say that he is God. This is the same little horn that Daniel was talking about. He's talking about the ecclesiastical Babylon that was going to end up ruling over political Babylon.
Right.
And,
See, that's what people don't realize. After the empire fell, Caesar no longer had complete control of the empire.
Right.
It was the Caesar coupled with Vatican City, coupled with the popes of Rome.
Correct.
They both yielded the power, and that's why when you get into Revelations, it talks about the beast and the false prophet being thrown in the lake of fire.
Right. In Revelation 13 here it says, 13:1, it says, "And I stood upon the sands of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his head the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard," like Alexander the Great, right? "And his feet were the feet of a bear." This is going back to Daniel 7. "And the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. And I saw one of his heads, it was wounded to death, and the deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. And they, talking about the whole world, and they worshiped the dragon, who gave power unto the beast, and they worshiped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast, and who is able to make war with him. And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given for him to continue 3.5 years. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. And all that dwell on the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the Lamb's book of life, slain from the foundation of the earth. Right? So that's the revival of the Holy Roman Empire that we're coming into now. That's political Babylon.
So this is that beast, that 10th horn.
This is the 10th horn.
After Hitler, which was the 9th,
Correct.
This is the one that's going to revive the Roman Empire
Correct.
for 3.5 years, correct?
Right. Now, if you skip down to verse 11, it says, and I saw another beast coming up out of the earth. See? And he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spoke like a dragon. He had the power of the political Babylon and the power of the Christian church, right? Verse 12, and he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and caused the earth and them that dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed.
The Holy Roman Empire.
Right. And it says, and he does great wonders, so that he makes fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceive them that dwell on earth by means of those miracles which he had to do in the power of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast that had the wound by the sword and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark of the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here's wisdom. Let him that has understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. That's the Pope's title.
Exactly. And hopefully we can pick it up on the screen now. It's Vicarius Filii Dei, which actually means in Latin, Christ's replacement.
Correct.
So he has exalted himself. He claims to sit in the seat of Christ.
Correct.
And his title, when you add it up in Roman numerals, equals 666. Then you have a coin, as you can see, that was from a past pope. I believe it's Pope St. Leo. On one side of this coin is the head of the pope. On the other side is that same beast, that same woman that you mentioned earlier, that was riding this revived Roman Empire that had control of it, sitting on the wall, which lets you know that it is the Vatican City, the Pope, who controls the whole world through this brute beast empire, the revived Roman Empire.
Okay, you're right. You're absolutely right. A caller called in a minute ago into the office in there, and she wanted to know they wanted to know if the abomination of desolation was in America.
Was in America?
Is he in America?
Okay.
If he is in America, you can believe one thing: he's gonna get out of America, because America is going to be destroyed by Russia before they get this whole thing finalized together to make that last 3.5 year push. So this last king of the 3.5 years, if he is in America, then he won't be here at the time of that. I don't know who the next pope is going to be, but we do know it's going to come in, that the Messiah is going to return in the regime of the next pope. We know that. So whether he's living in America or Bulgaria or Russia or wherever, I don't know where he lives at now, but I do know this: he hasn't gotten the power yet. He will not have the power until he is crowned in front of everybody, satellite TV, until he's crowned in front of everybody by the Pope.
And that's what's so sad about this, Elder. We die for lack of knowledge. The prophet Hosea said it, and now we have it with Paul speaking the same thing. All you have to do is take some time to research the Bible. You have a picture on the screen there of the ruins of ancient Rome. And it says, modern Christianity's forgotten roots. If you go back and deal with Rome and deal with the Vatican City and the popes and this Catholicism that has been set up and has has spread out to what we to so many different denominations, including all the Protestants, that people don't even know that their roots began in Rome, not in Jerusalem. So we need to deal with that issue. And one of the major proponents or Caesars of Rome that allied with the popes to make changes that we talked about was Constantine. Let's talk about some of the changes that Constantine instituted. For example, he was the one that saw that vision of a flaming cross and went out to conquer. So talk about that a little bit.
Well, a caller called in into the office and wanted to know if the Pope was alive in World War I. And where we're going now is back long before World War I. Go back to Constantine, Emperor Constantine. Emperor Constantine had a vision, and in his vision, he dreamed that he conquered his arch enemy under the sign of the cross, right? So he allied with the Pope, and they went out and he won the war, and he was the one that made Christianity a man now.
Right.
He was the one that made Christianity the legal religion of the Roman Empire, and it was him and Pope St. Leo that changed the Sabbath day from Saturday to Sunday. I think it was in, when was it, 312 A.D.?
312 AD,
312
absolutely.
AD. That's
Absolutely.
when, so the Pope was around long before World War II. As a matter of fact, when the Pope was around, they had popes during the Roman Empire. All you have to do is get back into the history of the Roman Catholic Church, and they called it at that time the Universal Church. But then after Rome fell and they went into the Dark Ages, when they came out of the Dark Ages, they called it Catholic, which means universal.
Hopefully we can get the picture of Constantine up on the screen. He was a part of those 10 horns to try to revive the Roman Empire. And as you stated, he's responsible for changing the worship from Saturday to what is called Sunday today, because he was an avowed Mithraic sun cult worshiper.
Right.
Listen to this, though. This is in a letter that where he said that his resulting letter showed the depth of his feelings regarding practices he considered Jewish. Here's Constantine. It appeared an unworthy thing, he wrote, that in the celebration of this most holy feast, we should follow the practice of the Jews, who have impiously defiled their hands with enormous sin, and are therefore deservedly afflicted with blindness of soul. Let us then have nothing in common with the detestable Jewish crowd, for we have received a different way.
Correct. They
So
received his
they started
way.
changing it all.
Right. As a matter of fact, they had started changing it before the apostles died. This is why Paul in Galatians had to tell them, "Oh, foolish Galatians, who have bewitched you that you shouldn't obey the truth?" You know, so they had started. You know how the Gentiles are. They're gonna change something. If they don't like the way it is, they're gonna change it, and that's just what they did. What they did was they dropped us through the cracks of history, took us out of the picture, and then they set up some imposters as the Jews, right? And they keep bribing them, giving them money, and all kind of help and everything they need. But see, the problem is this: our people don't do the research and find out that the original Jews were black.
Correct.
And when you tell them that, you know what they're quick to say? Well, it don't make no difference. Well, if it doesn't make any difference, why was the new covenant made with the Jews?
And why did these Roman European nations take so much time and effort to deceive this whole thing, to cover up all this stuff? They know who they took as captives. Because they said, "Sing us one of your songs." Right,
and when you get back into some of their religious, what they call religious holidays, you have to ask yourself, what does reindeer and this God Santa Claus and rabbits and all that stuff, what does any of that stuff have to do with the Messiah? But who do we get that from? We got that from the Gentiles.
Exactly. Elder, let's hopefully we've got on the screen now a picture of the invasion of Rome in 70 AD. Here we are still dealing with the Roman Empire. What happened to our people in 70 AD?
Well, according to pick up that information, what you have to do is there's a book on the market called The Words of Josephus. Okay, Josephus Flavors, Wars of the Jews, and so forth. Either one of those books. And if you get in there and read what happened, in 70 AD, General Titus invaded Jerusalem. Now his father, Vespasian, had already he had besieged Jerusalem,
Caesar.
and in the process, Emperor Nero died, and they called for Vespasian back to Rome to make him emperor, and he left his son General Titus there to go ahead and take care of that business. So Titus destroyed the city, and according to Josephus, out of all the history books, the only person that wrote something about it was one of our scholars. According to Josephus, they killed off 1.5 million of our people that was at Passover, and the last 97,000 they rounded up and sold to the Egyptians to work in the mines. And we stayed down in Africa 1,600 years, and the Egyptians were the one that, the Africans were the one that rounded us up and began to sell us to the British, Spanish, Portuguese, and Dutch, the Brits, the people in Great Britain, England, and everybody was in on the slave trade because we had 10 tribes over there.
And all good Christians.
Right.
French, Spanish, Russians, all of them, good Christians.
As a matter of fact, when the Spanish conquistadors came over here, the first thing they held up to Montezuma was the Bible.
What you just saw is the Ark of Titus, which stands in Rome, Italy today to commemorate the victory over our people. This people now called a so-called Negro. That's a monument you can see over in Rome, Italy today that shows the total destruction of the children of Israel as a nation of people. Yahweh made our holy name to cease, not only from us, but from the world. And now we are people who have been misidentified, uneducated, and totally we don't know who we are as a race of people and have no idea of our history as preposterous take over our land and claim it as their own today.
Correct.
We're down to toward the end of our show, Elder, so we're going to have to wrap it up. But there is salvation on the wings. I'll leave you with the closing words. Will that out?
Well, what I like to do is finish up in Revelation 17 about those 10 horns that Daniel talked about. It's Revelation 17 and 12. It says, and the 10 horns which you saw, 10 kings which have received no kingdom as yet, but received power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. So we can very well see that these last 10 kings that is going to run the empire, they're going to make war with the Lamb, and that is the Christian church.
Praise God. And then all will be over. Peace will be in the earth for 1,000 years. I hope you enjoyed tonight's show. Please call us and give us your name so that we can call you back. Thank you so much, and we'll be back next week as it is written, Monday night, 9:30 a.m. Thank you for joining us. My name is Tamar Israel, and with me the elder priest of the New Covenant Congregation of Israel, Yaakov ben Israel. Good night.